You hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Perfect. Thank you.
We gather in the cosmos bright. Stars and ships take flight tonight. In the void where dreams do play. Soul citizens lead the way. Borders fade in nebula's light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy we soar. Endless journeys at our core. Borders fade in nebula's light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy we soar. Endless journeys at our core. Starry roads and endless skies. Soul citizens we rise. Charting courses never lost. Together the verses crossed. Squadrons call on the horizon. Battles fought, our hearts aren't frightened. In our ships we face the dawn.
Sweet, thank you.
Soul citizens carry on. Oh, planets spin and light years fly. Boundless space where hopes reside. Motherhood in every star. Soul citizens, here we are. Borders fade in nebula's light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy we soar. Endless journeys at our core. Starry roads and endless skies. Soul citizens we rise. Charting courses never lost. Together the verses crossed.
Player organization.
That's all right.
It sounds like we've got a few people in orgs in the house today. But Benoit, you talked about this a while ago, right?
It's been 84 years. So I was originally asked to outline the original ideas behind how organizations would work in the very early days of the project. A younger Ben, big ideas, same ideas, now action. You have no idea how happy I am that we're finally tackling this task and this design in the game to truly give you all the tools you need to make your empire in SC. There are more than 70,000 organizations registered on the RSI website. 69,999 of them of decent size, and then test. Ridiculous.
Too big.
But all of those have custom identities, logos, charter. The amount of creative and high-quality content you guys have always produced has always amazed us and inspired us. Those orgs range from a small group of friends with just the name to large companies spanning a large amount of players with the intent to share wealth, missions, and campaigns together. Now we want to make those orgs matter in the game. Should you choose to join or create an organization, we want this social aspect to be part of your progression. But don't let me spoil it. Let's get a real designer to cover this stuff. JJ, you are a self-proclaimed big MMO player yourself, so why don't you give us the details?
I didn't realize I went around self-proclaiming so much, but thank you. But as an MMO player, I understand that different terminology is used in a lot of different games, so I just wanted to very quickly go over how we're using it in Star Citizen. So orgs, as many of you know, the players coming together to achieve a goal, whatever you want your goals to be. We give you the framework, and you set it up and drive it forward. And we were going to shout a few of them out, but I was actually told we couldn't play favorites, so we actually made our own. So we've got the Fellowship of JJ
And the Baltzfald Buccaneers.
those
What?
guys.
You guys made your own orgs?
Yeah, we kind of left you out. Sorry about that, James.
We also have NPC factions, and they're already in the game. And you can earn or lose reputation with them. Now, contracts and doing nice things will earn you rep. And killing and stealing and all of that horrible stuff you love, Ben, that will lose you rep. Ling and Redwind and the ones that you can see on there are just a few examples, and there's going to be a lot more to come going forward. Now, there are also guilds, like the Interstellar Transport Guild. And these are essentially collections of several factions, and we're putting them in a position to be more prevalent.
What? You're saying there's something bigger than factions?
Oh yeah. So they're going to be something you interact with a lot, and they essentially handle contracts for the factions. But you will earn rep with both still, but as the bigger entity, the guild will be much more important.
Hear you,
We
Theory.
can hear you. S card says he doesn't hear anything.
I can hear you. Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, I think we can hear him.
We don't hear anything in the stream. Oh, now we hear it. Yeah. Yep, so if you're talking this whole time, we didn't hear anything you said.
Maybe you
Hi,
should tell some
everybody.
jokes.
Terraphon? You don't get me started, because I'll get this whole show banned. I don't know any appropriate jokes.
Nope, you broke something. I didn't hear in the stream. I don't hear myself in the stream. No, okay, now, dude, they're delay. Thank him for the subscription. Exactly, that's what I mean. I see your lip moving.
Yep.
I don't think that word means what you think it means. Probably just one button you have to push, but you gotta find it. So good luck. Moved himself. Oh, there he. Welcome back.
Say something again, Serious?
wait, let me leave. And we're making 42. There goes your joke, Danger Hobo. You're welcome. Nope, that wasn't it.
I can see it. I have it open right here. So what we just saw was the CitizenCon presentation of the social universe at CitizenCon 2954, in which they talked about organizations, and it's something that a lot of people had been looking forward to for a long time, because last time they had mentioned organizations up to that point was 2018. So yeah, that's what this show's about, organizations. And right now, I think it'd probably be a good idea for everybody to introduce themselves. Why don't we start with Dumma and Terraphon?
Hey, I'm Dumma, Senior Director in Atlas Defense Industries, and I head up our group we call S9, which is our creative group. I do all kinds of creative things, builds. I built a couple things for the SitCon Atlas Defense Industries booth, a kiosk that was a big hit this year. Terraphon and I have created some content together, including Meta and Minute series and the Big Benny's commercial that CIG seems to love. Take it away, Terraphon.
Yeah, thanks, Noah. So my name's Terraphon. I am a director in Atlas Defense Industries, also a member of S9. And besides doing creative projects, we also handle, like marketing, PR, stuff like that. I do all of the original music for any ADI content that goes out internally and externally. And that includes the Big Benny video, which CIG seems to love so much. Yeah, been member of Evocati for like 9 years, playing Star Citizen for forever and a day. And that's all I have to say about myself. I'm going to hand it over to Captain Jones.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yeah, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Making sure, because I know I had those mic issues earlier. So, as said before, Captain, one of the leaders in the Galaxy Trek org dedicated to all things exploration and hoping to eventually build out the verse. One of those groups that want to leave no stone unturned. And then at the same time, as many may or may not know, you have the ability to align yourself with other orgs at the same time. So that'd be one of the things we're talking about. But I'm also in the pretty cool org here, represented by SeriousFun. We've got a club we'll be talking about, all kinds of cool stuff. So let's see. I think I will go ahead and pass it on to Bando.
Hi, again, my name is Bando Calrissian. I have none of those credentials that anybody else has. I'm in 3 different orgs. I'm in Black Star, I'm in Galaxy Trek, and I'm in Shadow Company. So I've aligned myself with 3 different orgs, and I've been playing since 2017.
Wow, this is great. So why don't you tell us a little bit about each of your orgs? So I'm going to start again from left to right with Duma.
Yeah, Atlas Defense Industries is we like to say the largest truly exclusive org in the verse. I think there's one other that is actually larger than us, but we are truly exclusive, meaning we vet everybody that comes in. We want to make sure that your loyalty is to ADI. We are an anti-piracy org. Otherwise, we enjoy all kinds of gameplay. We are highly organized, and when the game goes live, we are going to go out there and do it all. I've been with ADI since 2020 when I found Star Citizen, and fell in love with the vision for the game and the org. The people in the org just seem to fit my personality and my gameplay. So
Yeah, and that's super important. I mean, we always talk about how this game is much better with friends, and obviously an org is like a big group of friends, right? Ideally. So it's always good that whatever org that a person joins, there's that chemistry there. So I'm going to go over to Captain Jones. Can you tell us a little bit about your org?
Sure. So I'll have a couple of things to talk about. I think what I'll do is I'll let Bando do a little bit of work chat, and then I'll add cleanup.
Sounds good.
So my primary is Black Star, and we're more of a mercenary group, and we've got about 100, maybe a little bit more people in the org, and this org, we do a lot of group activities, which when I first came in, we got the Idris, and the Idris was quite a time. I earned my rank as Legionnaire in doing that mission with the org, and we had a blast. We kept the Idris for about 2 hours. And then I'm also in Galaxy Trek, where we do exploration. We do a lot of looting. We are, we do quite a bit of looting and just doing some of the missions. And I'm in Shadow Company, and that's a bunch of our local guys here in the Pacific Northwest, which we're all local. So we're from here, from Portland all the way up to Seattle, and in I believe in Idaho as well. And we play amongst each other on a dedicated night. So it's the orgs have been a great thing for me. I've met a lot of people, especially on Soul Citizen. This is where I first came in, and then it's kind of spread out, met people, and moved around. So the org has been very great for me.
I wanted to say congratulations to your org Black Star for coming in second in the 24-hour grueling endurance ship race called the Crux Cup 24-hour race. That was amazing. I watched quite a bit of it, and so well done to Black Star.
Jade, I think you can hear me now, right?
Oh yeah, we got you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I think we want to make sure that you take the opportunity to talk a little bit about your org.
Right. Okay. So I should also at this point say that I am in Black Star. I think that's how you found out about it. Am I right?
That is correct.
Yeah. And so we are a mercenary org. However, we are not exclusively a mercenary org. We have a great industrial division. Shout out to the doctor who heads that up. And we're very involved in racing, as you can see with Black Star Racing. We are not opposed to illicit activities. We are open to pretty much all forms of gameplay except for being a jerk. So, in our lore, we have our headquarters both in Pyro and Stanton. We established ourselves at Jackson Swap on Monox, protecting trade and the people who've settled there. So, we're, on the lawful side, but we're also in Pyro. So what happens in Pyro stays in Pyro.
Nice. Very good. Well, thank you, Jade, for being that sole team member to pick up the slack when I was muted. I mean, you could run this show by yourself anyway. So,
oh, thank you.
No doubt. One of the questions that we wanted to ask, and part of the show is about getting these various org perspectives, but it's also about this idea of going back and forth with statements and perspectives and a point of view on this that CIG has articulated, right? So we're going to spend a lot of time on that. But before we get to that, I just wanted to ask each one of you a question from an org perspective. Whether you're playing in Star Citizen or you're any setting, what one or two things would help you do more of all the things you just talked about your org doing from a game perspective? What would CIG or any other game where you are in an org, what would the game have to do? What helps your org? Terraphon, let me start with you. What kind of systems or tools would you want in place in any setting, not just Star Citizen, for your org to org as orgy as you would like?
So I think, at least from groups that I've been a member of in the past, really, in order for an org to org as orgingly as an org can org, one of the things that you have to have is, and I want to preface what I'm about to say with, I'm not talking smack on CIG, right? I understand the situation they're in, but complete gameplay systems, management systems built into the game, which is something that we're going to be talking about later. And lots and lots of gameplay loops, right? Because one of the things that, regardless what game you're playing, one of the things that happens is if the gameplay itself is limited, people unfortunately tend to get bored, right? Like, there's only so many rocks you can mine. There's only so many ships you can salvage. There's only so many people you can shoot in the face before you just kind of start to burn. And so I think it comes down to in-game management systems and content and completion. And again, I'm not taking a dump on CIG by any stretch of the imagination. I think they've done an incredible job, and they're getting better all the time, especially with a lot of the new playability stuff they're adding. I'm so excited for this game to go live. It makes me crazy.
Dumma. Thank you, Terraphon. Dumma, your thoughts?
Yeah. So I'm in the same org as Terraphon, and my perspective on this is from being a GM all the way back in 2004. I started a guild in World of Warcraft, and eventually we run Scenario server, and we raided, and we had about 200 members, and so with ADI being 10,000 members strong, organization is a big thing. We actually have our own software group, and we write our own software for organizing all the things we do, the missions and operations we do, because we practice these things a lot to get ready for game time. So I was really happy to see some of the in-game organization happening. It would be great from my perspective, being a software developer and designer, having some access to APIs, so we have that information outside of the game as well in a secure way. And it's again kind of to expand a little more on what Jade said about the community and your org being kind of your social group is having so many members, finding ways to bring them together, organize them, and have fun in game. And so
yeah, very good. Bando, what does your org need to org as orgy as it can org?
You know what? Shared resources. Shared resources would be great. All of us work, all of us have busy lives, and we're not all, and we have org members from all over the planet, planet Earth. So, different time zones, things like that. If we had somewhere where, if I have my players full of materials and it's docked, I'm not on, they can't have access to it. Or, they might need a ship that I might have that's an org ship that they could pull up. That would be great. That would solve, especially the time zone problem. We've got people from, Europe, we've got people from Asia, we've got people from South America, and everywhere in between. And so time zones are tough. And if you had that, it would help the org tremendously.
Yeah, Captain Jones, and then we'll go to Jade, and then we'll hear what CIG has to say.
Yeah, so a couple of things. One we don't have, and one we used to have. So, in order to have an org, you need to be able to organize. So to go back to what Bando was saying, giving us tools to actually organize those resources. I mean, he talked about us being loot goblins. Well, we're basically on every day gathering resources, but no way to disperse those, track them, share them, know who has them, including ships. So, you have these most of us have these large, immense fleets that just kind of sit there and collect dust, and someone needs that particular ship and they can't use it because you're not on. So, resource sharing, being able to align those resources, delegate those resources out, manage those who has access to it on an org level is at least a good start. And then back for the thing that we used to have that we don't have is just bid logging as a group. So I can't remember how many times you're out. You're out in the middle of the night. Everybody's on their players. It's getting late. You like to be able to hop out, but you can't because we can't bid log as a group anymore. If there's another ship, another person, a dead body, anything in that ship at the time, it's not going to let you bid log. So if they can work out the bid logging issue again, while at the same time letting us allocate those shared resources, will be a good step forward.
Good stuff. Jade.
Yeah, I just really quickly want to reiterate the shared resources thing. I think that's something every single org, no matter the size, wants, as far as like org banks, org hangars, right? Those are super important. But I think there's another thing that would benefit not just orgs like ours, but orgs in general, and that is a feature they showed us that a lot of us assumed would allow us to do this. They showed us being able to place a marker on a map at CitizenCon 2953, showing the new map system, right? And as it is right now, if people don't know, the only place that you can place a marker and come back to it is like if you're in a place that's mapped like New Babbage or a ship, right? We should be able to place a marker anywhere in this universe and share that marker with org mates. And that would benefit so many things. It would benefit mining, it would benefit salvage, it would benefit racing, because we could actually set up our own race courses with multiple markers as checkpoints, right? And it sounds like such a simple thing, but it would enable so much in the way of org gameplay if they implement it properly.
Yeah, you took mine. That was mine, which was being able to place markers anywhere and have your org go anywhere, right?
Yes.
Because once you can do that, then your orgs are going to be hard to find when they have their great markers in these great locations that are off the beaten path, and that's what you want, right? Until that mystical, magical, majestic day when base building kicks in. This is an ad hoc base activity, right? Or to your point, several of these markers lays out a race course, right? And you might find that, as usual, the creativity of the community rivals the creativity of the developer when we allow it to flourish. So, good stuff. Well, let's jump in to CIG's take on some of this stuff, and we're going to take it one at a time. Let's start with their take on recruitment.
But now we can dive into some of our new org systems.
Yes. Let's start with the basics. I want to find or I want to recruit for an org.
Yeah, so welcome to the new app for everything orgs.
Tease with the mask.
So, orgs can be big and complex, and as we said, some of them have thousands of members. So when we designed the app, well, we made sure that we took this into account, but it's also something that we can expand on moving forward. So, let's have a look at it.
Now, I'd like to point out that the Fellowship of JJ, like every designer-based org, is really focused on things like progression gameplay and mission and crafting and leveling up. But my Bolt's Fault Buccaneers, no, they're the real deal. Now, we don't do any of that stuff. Now, we're in it for profit, interdiction lines, shipboarding action. We get all that sweet cargo for free.
For free? That sounds pretty illegal, Ben.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What's in those crates?
Slam!
Anyway, it sounds like you guys might be interested in joining some big orgs. Well, I prefer something smaller. So I think it's fair to say that we like playing in different ways and will want to join different orgs. The recruitment tab is the place to find them. So we're giving you the tools to promote your org to potential members in order to give a best first impression to them.
I've just noticed that, Ben. You might want to have a word with Rich. It looks like...
What?
Like he doesn't want you.
No way. I'll have to speak with him.
Anyway, yes. So we're adding filters for when you're basically trying to find a home. And we want to cater to all types of players, because we're a massive game, right? And orgs are combining tons of different gameplay in tons of different ways. So you can search by name if there's an infamous org you've encountered out there in the verse or online. You can search by size. So if you're after a big and active org like me, or a small and more close-knit org like Gabriel. Then you can also search by the gameplay focuses you enjoy. So maybe you love trading in PvP, or maybe you like events like the Daymar Rally. Safe? Yeah. So I guess you'd end up searching for, say, social and racing, maybe?
What if I love committing crime and roleplay, asking for a friend?
What's that got to do with the presentation? Anyway, you can search for whatever you like, and if it's not there, why not just create it yourself?
So, we allowed you to join multiple orgs back in 2014. I can still do that, right?
Oh, yeah. So we're keeping it supported, and we're actually doing the Star Citizen thing, and we're going one bigger.
One bigger.
So we're giving you an additional one to join when we actually bring it into the game, too. And we wanted to keep it because we've all played games where it's far too limited. Like, one org per character just isn't enough for a game this size.
Yeah, and here you get an idea of what the full screen will look like. It's going to be your one-stop shop for joining or finding players for your org.
Yeah, so recruitment, the place to find an org, promote your org to others. You can filter by name, by size, by gameplay focus, and you can join multiple orgs. What do people think about that?
I would like them to end redacted, where, you know, people can redact what orgs they're part of, because I feel it's abused. And I feel that if in recruitment, we are basically vetting people, right? To make sure it's a good fit for both the person who's trying to join and for us, but also to make sure that, like, you know, we're secure, right? So, like, if somebody's a member of, I don't know, a network of griefers, let's put it that way, and they can redact that, that does not help build it doesn't help build the social universe that CIG imagines, that Chris Roberts imagines. And so I would hope that they would remove the whole redacted thing.
I actually very much agree. Now, with Dumma and I, this doesn't really apply, right? Because ADI is an exclusive org. And if you're a member of, and I'm not going to say any other org, because we do make exceptions for certain social orgs, right? Like 890 Owners Club and, you know, orgs that are genuine social orgs. We'll make exceptions for those. But if you try to join ADI and you're redacted or hidden in a bunch of other orgs, the answer is going to be drop all those or we can't let you in. But the way I see it is, if you're going to join an org, you're making a statement. And if you're making a statement, say it with your whole chest. Just put it out there.
Tell
Don't
them.
try to hide. Yeah, tell them. Tell them.
Yep, I 100% agree. I 100% agree. And I understand there are valid reasons why somebody would want to redact an org. I'm a member of several, I'll just call them, they're social orgs, but they're also like affinity groups, right? And there may be people that would target me because I'm a part of those groups, or I'm part of those orgs, right? I don't redact that. Because people who know me know that I'm part of those groups, whatever. But I can understand why people would want to do that, especially in the current climate. However, I feel that with the universe that CIG is building and trying to, I always say this: the community is as much an alpha as the game itself, and the tools that they give us, the social tools that they give us, are going to basically shape what the social universe is for years, maybe decades to come, right? And so I feel that the whole redacted thing, it once served a purpose and it's kind of cool and everything, but I also feel that if I am part of groups that somebody's going to target, there's a better way for CIG to deal with that than just, having the redacted thing so they can't see what groups I'm a part of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be nice if they offered us, some depth to the tools that leaders of orgs have to be able to filter who joins their org and then who stays in their org. Meaning, if somebody joins your org and then they go, and you have policies that say no piracy, and they go and join a pirate org after the fact, can be hard for org leaders to track down unless they scan the list every day. If you have 10,000 members, that's a nightmare. So having some tools that allow us to, kind of keep people in the org that we want to keep in, and keep those out that are meaning to thwart our efforts. So
yeah, we may get to member management if we don't run too long, given that we started so late. But that's another piece that CIG does talk a little bit about. So, and I do think that's important. Other thoughts on recruitment? Captain Jones, Bando, I just want to make sure I invite you directly, but you don't have to say anything if you don't want to.
Well, honestly, I'm not in the recruiting field, so I don't have much to say on that one.
Yeah, I'll just co-sign on a redacted, not only from today's climate, but we know in the future when we actually have the guilds and those guilds being aligned to certain factions. As a recruiter, you might want to know if when you're bringing in as part of the council, for example, if you're tied to the mercenary guild, because those would be opposing factions. Giving us tools to better know who we're letting in the door and what's going out the door. I think could be a great tool, a great recruiting tool at the very least.
Yeah, and I see that on YouTube, Lucid Strike says, listened, considered, and I support redaction still. If you're iffy about redacted info during recruitment, then just don't recruit them, right?
Yeah.
I think that captures one side of the issue, right? The other side of the issue is when folks in orgs that where their affiliation is redacted function a certain way in the game too, right?
Yeah.
So there's having them in your community in terms of the org, but there's also engaging them in the community, right? And accountability.
Yeah.
So
we have a policy that it kind of makes that a non-issue for us, in that if you're redacted, you're not in, and if you go redacted in anything, you're out. So, you kind of have to adopt that if you want to preserve your exclusivity.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see the direction in which CIG goes.
Yeah, what are those org tags that SIG start talking about going to look like? Are they going to say redacted in game? No, sooner or later, somebody's going to have to be able to see
something.
Right.
Right.
and here's the other thing. If they don't remove redacted, what that encourages, unfortunately, is basically people, well, it's not quite doxing, but people trying to figure out what those redacted orgs that person's a part of, right? It creates, I don't know, I feel it creates a slightly toxic environment that they don't need to do. Like, because, I mean, there are people that are legitimately redacting, for whatever reason, but I having been a co-founder of a pirate org way back in the day, I can tell you most of the people that I came across that were redacted were other people that were up to no good, right? And I don't know. I feel again that it's up to CIG to figure out what kind of social environment they want in this game and what they want to foster.
Very good. Good stuff.
Yeah, it seems that being redacted kind of goes against the thing that they presented in that presentation for representing. If you're in multiple orgs, you have to pick who you're representing at that time.
Yeah.
And so they're making a call for you to declare who you are representing. So redacted doesn't work with that.
Dumma, you are wonderfully segueing us to our next section from CIG. So let's take a look at what else CIG has had to say about this.
So let's have a look at the core functions and features to look forward to in the rest of the app. This is the Summary tab. On here, you can select one of your orgs that you're in on the left-hand side, and you'll see, well, a summary, a lot of at-a-glance information. So we'll introduce some of these one at a time. So first off, announcements and org information. Simple stuff. You use them how you want to. Also, we're adding an events log. So in here, you'll get a summary of important events within the org and changes to org statuses or settings. In short, these things, well, it's a big verse, and it's easy to miss cool things that happen in your org. And these features will help you stay on top of the day-to-day life of being an org member.
Okay, we're also adding an events calendar. So by default... So by default, it's going to be populated with our in-game events, so you never miss a thing. But more importantly, you'll obviously be able to add your own as well. So you'll never miss another meetup to get together for group content. It's tough to get everyone on at the same time, right? So use this for your Convoy Tuesdays, Casual Fridays, holding hands in Horizon Saturdays, whatever you want.
Getting crushed by the Buccaneers on Monday.
That's Gabriel's favorite.
It is my favorite.
Remember that it is our intent that all the features we're looking at here are available on Spectrum as well, allowing you to access this info even if you're not in the game. This applies to parties, comms, friends, and all other functions. So I can join multiple orgs, like the Buccaneers, the Corvette Club, or the Slam Truckers. But how will others see me in the verse if I have multiple choices? Surely I need to pick a banner.
So that's covered by something new called representing. And it's actually quite similar to the existing affiliation main status system on the website. So if you're into multiple orgs, you choose which one you want to represent, but you can only represent one at a time. Now, there are ongoing benefits for being in orgs, which we'll get to in a minute, but choosing who you represent asks which one you want to benefit from at any given time. But why? Well, we wanted to support players who like to play with different groups of friends. But we didn't want players who are just in one to be at a major disadvantage to those that are in the full 6. Because really, joining multiple orgs should be your choice and not feel like it's a necessity.
And there's no need for you to switch which org you're representing to see things like this Moby screen or org chat. But we want to put limitations on how often you can switch to avoid exploiting the systems. And we don't want to punish anyone who's, playing by the rules. And a big part of representing is visualizing it in-world. We want you to be able to fly your banner for your org. So we're adding another MMO staple to the game. Tags. So the org leader will be able to set a tag for the org, and this gets appended to the name while you're representing. So you can easily see who is in which org at a glance. So we'll have it in chats, in world, and if you're not interested in this stuff, you have the option to turn it off as well.
How novel! We'll be able to identify people around us.
Wow.
Yes, indeed. So not only the summary tab as a tool, at a glance info for any org you're in, announcements, org information, and an events log, which they're saying will be a summary of important events and changes to org status and settings, but an events calendar, which we saw got tremendous applause. And I was one of those people that was like, yes! By default, populated with CIG events. You add your own as well, name, date, time, which would be local, which is a very good feature. And then representing. You can choose which org to represent, only represent one at a time. Representing enables benefits, and not representing puts benefits on hold or pause, but doesn't reset. Limitations on how often you can switch to manage that, and visualized in world with tags with the option to turn it off. What are folks' thoughts about this section of the org tools?
I like the calendar idea. I feel, though, what they're going to have to do, because people have super busy lives, is either they're going to have to push out that mobile app that I think a long time ago they said there was going to be a companion app, or allow those events that are on the calendar to be like exported to Google Calendar or something like that, so that we can get alerts like on our mobile devices that there's this org meeting coming up, or there's an event that we're all going to go take on the Valacar or whatever, right? Because otherwise people are just going to forget that they have that event on the calendar if they're not logging in all the time to see that calendar. The calendar's great, but like make it accessible outside of the game on the devices that we have.
I actually have to agree with Jade. I've missed so many events and so many orgs because I don't have time to get on all the time, especially checking Discord. I have a million apps that give me a million alerts, and I just can't manage them all. So having something like that would be helpful, because it's just a lot, especially your day-to-day life going through it.
So when Benoit said that we're going to get the new org app, but the intent is also that all features in the app are found in Spectrum as well for out-of-game engagement, parties, comms, friends, and all the other functions, was the language Benoit used. Are we saying that we want Spectrum as a mobile app that with customized notifications as well?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And I agree completely with the integration with, Google Calendar, et cetera, because, the more ways you have to see what's coming up, the better off you are. But I completely disagree with the ability to turn off your org tag. And that goes back to the whole thing about if you're going to say it, right? If you're going to rep an org, rep your org.
Yeah, that's an interesting question in that we, with all of these CIG presentations, we'd love more information, right? But what did they mean, and what will they ultimately mean by tags in game and the option to turn it off, right? Is it that I have the option to turn off seeing all of that information on my screen, right? Or does somebody who's in an org, tagged to be an org, have the option to turn off telling me that they're in the org, right?
Right. Now,
because my preference would be that, to your point, I want to see if you're in an org that might be a problem or might be a friend, right? But I may not want to. There may be times where I just don't want to see all that information on my screen, right?
So somebody in chat did say they'd like to do secret squirrel stuff. So, that in which case I can think of operations that we might do as an org that we would want to turn off our tag. So that would be a nice to have. Counterintelligence type of stuff.
Yeah, maybe that's something that you earn in game as a role, right? That if you come up with a certain group, maybe the advocacy or something, and Rowena Dooley says, hey, for this period of time, I'm going to allow you to function in this way, right?
Yeah.
And it's something you have to earn and renew.
Well, I guess one way or
sorry,
one way around that is the representing as I'm representing this org. So you could have even orgs as ourselves who are exclusive. We could have a shadow org where our tag is anonymous in some way, and we could just switch to representing that org. So there are ways around it, even with what they presented.
Yeah.
I have a question about the length of the tag. What they showed there was, 3 and 4 letter tags. That's going to quickly, we saw with ship names, right? It's going to quickly, they're going to have unique tags, right? And so with unique tags, a lot of combinations are going to get used up. A lot of really common combinations are going to get used up really quick. If you have 4, if they add numbers, right? So numbers are letters A to Z and digits 0 through 9. There's only a possible 1,679,616 possible combinations, and you look at how many people are backers of the game and how many will be after 1.0. They're going to run out. So I hope they do something about that.
Yeah, I think your org tags are unique now, are they not? And they did say in the presentation that they have 70K orgs, roughly.
Yeah.
Although when the game goes live, if it gets as popular as WoW did, you're right. It could run out real quick.
How many unique combinations did you say for 4-character alphanumerics?
1,679,616.
Please tell me you didn't do that math on the fly.
I mean, I do this kind of math every day.
Oh,
I'm getting 14,776,336.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, for 4-character alphanumeric combinations.
36 to the power of 4.
62 to the power of 4.
I don't do math, so.
Oh, okay.
I'm not getting that because I figured it out in my head. I'm getting that because I asked the internets.
Okay, all right. I messed up.
You using Grok or ChatGPT?
ChatGPT. But so it may be hallucinating, Jade. That's why I just said it out loud, but I want to check. So I trust you for the check. But
I mean, I can double check.
Fastcard said, I didn't come here for the maths.
Right, let's move on then.
And what we're going to do really quick is to move on to a 60-second ad, which is going to run now. And so if you are still hearing my voice, that's because you've made the commitment to Soul citizens and Soul team members like myself and Jade and Captain Jones and Griff and Fastcart and others are really thankful for that. We like to begin and end in gratitude. We're super appreciative for that. Thrakazog, thank you for the resubscription, and hopefully now you can hear us across the ad. But what that does is, nobody's taking home a paycheck from Soul Citizens, but it does allow us to do giveaways and support the community in various ways across bars, virtual bar citizens and other things like that. So we're just very thankful that folks that make the decision to subscribe do that. We want to take this time during this moment to say that. Jade, Captain Jones, did y'all want to extend that in any way with a couple seconds left?
I'll go to Captain Jones.
No, I'm just in total agreement. You have a choice where to spend your hard-earned dollars, so subscribing here, we definitely all appreciate it.
Yeah, very thankful.
Yeah.
All right, we're back. And let's take a moment to jump into CIG's take on org alignment and loyalty systems.
JJ, I'm curious. You mentioned guilds before, and I'm guessing they fit into this somehow.
Yes, so you may have spotted a few references on the UI to alignment earlier, but what is it? So, it's your opportunity to form a relationship between org and in-game guild. Now, just as you in personal rep with the guilds, you can with your org now as well. So your org leaders pick which one you want to align with, and while representing, org members doing specific action, like contracts with them, will increase the org's alignment with the guild. But which guild should you pick? So all of our guilds are going to have a specific theme and associated gameplay. And you can basically pick the one that matches your theme or benefits your org the most. So a combat-focused org, like the Fellowship, might want to align with themselves with the Mercenary Guild. Or one that enjoys making cash through trading and hauling, they'd probably want to align with the Interstellar Transport Guild.
Yeah, so how do these benefits work? Well, as your alignment with a guild, as it races, you both unlock new benefits from that guild, as well as improve your previously unlocked benefits. So, for example, if I align my org with the Academy of Science Guild, we might get research speed improvements. As my org performs contracts for this guild, alignment raises, and that speed benefit gets better. And needless to say, other guilds will have other types of benefits. Finally, on guild alignment, you are not locked in forever. You can switch at any time. However, that will put your alignment back at 0, so it's a big choice.
So every member gets full benefits.
Well, not necessarily. We're also introducing loyalty. So it's similar to the org's alignment with a guild, but this represents your relationship to the org you're in. Anything you do that benefits the org while you are representing it will gain you loyalty with them. So for example, you could be doing missions for the org-aligned guild, or you could be depositing money and materials into org storage.
Org storage?
Another tease.
Ooh.
Ultimately, we wanted to encourage long-term membership because we don't think you should just be able to join a well-established org and then just get everything instantly for no effort. So to put it simply, having low loyalty limits what you gain from the org's alignment benefits, and having high loyalty gives you full access. We also wanted org leadership to be able to view members' current loyalty and use it as a tool to reward appropriately with things like ranks and permissions. And then loyalty resets to 0 when you leave an org, so there's some incentive for sticking around.
Wait, does that mean I lose my loyalty if I change my representation away?
No, so not representing puts your contributions or ongoing benefits on hold. So when you start representing again, you essentially just pick up where you left off.
But what if I leave the org?
It's not very loyal, so it resets.
Org alignment and personal loyalty. Guilds. What do y'all think about that?
I love it.
Love it, love it.
Tell me more.
Well, we're exclusive. I mean, say no more, right? Like, we love it. Like, the longer you play for that org, the more skin in the game you have. And if you decide to leave, you know, there goes your reputation with that org/faction. So
Right. Plus, and this is going to be really good for orgs who have, a focus on one major gameplay loop, right? So we know, for example, there are going to be orgs that are focused on industry. If you align yourself with an industrial guild and you get all of those benefits for your primary, gameplay loop, whatever it happens to be, that's really, really advantageous for orgs like that. I think it's great. Plus, like Dumma said, if you just decide one day you're going to leave and go join, as Jade called it, a network of griefers, then you lose everything, as well you should.
Yeah. The thing that struck me, and Bando, Captain Jones, and Jay, we want to hear from you, but the thing that struck me was the ability for org leadership to see loyalty and grant benefits accordingly within the org, right? It's one thing if CIG and the player can understand their loyalty relationship to a faction or a guild, but if I can understand their relationship and see it very quickly, if I can come in and go, okay, give me the folks that have been with us for a year or longer, or give me the folks. It'll be interesting how I can sort that loyalty, but if I could see it, there might be activities, events, items, rare items, but also opportunities that come to loyal org members that might not come to the org member that joined yesterday, right? And then they get to hear about it and go, well, how do I get to do that? Well, be around for a while, right? There could be some of that. Captain Jones, Bando, Jade, what are your thoughts on org alignment and personal loyalty?
I actually like it, especially me being in 3 different orgs, having that loyalty in that one org. And sometimes our orgs do cross. They do cross and do missions together. That loyalty helps both ways. So I actually kind of dig it because, Galaxy Trek might do something with Shadow Company, and having loyalty on both sides, you might get a resource, or there might be a perk that you might get on being loyalty to one, and it might help the other. So I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be interesting. What you said spurred something else in me, which is, what about orgs that decide to affiliate with each other? Can being part of both orgs amplify the loyalty metric and how it increases, right? If it's like, oh, not only are you part of one of these orgs, but or both, but you've committed to this larger multi-org strategy, right? And does that confer any benefits? I'm not sure they've gotten that far down the road, but you made me think of that. Captain Jones, you're being called to defend griefers in the chat. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah. So if anybody knows this captain, I'm the most anti-griefer captain you ever find. So
yeah, that's why I think
a different defense attorney in this case. But
I think Danger Hobo went in and then he went and said kidding. Yeah, because
you got the wrong captain.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm all about the alignment of being able to leaders being able to align loyalty with rewards and things like that, because maybe in a smaller org, it might be easier to keep track of people coming and going, but if you get some of these hundreds, thousands, multiple thousands, you might have somebody that comes and goes multiple times a week, and they might be coming and going for nefarious reasons. So being able to test that loyalty. If you've ever played other games with orgs, which I'm sure everybody's been in an org or a guild something before, we all know people like to hop groups, collect rewards, and then go hop into the next group. So looks like SIG is getting a hit of this by not only tracking it, but giving leadership the ability to actually see it, manage it, and reward it.
Yeah. Jade, before you go, let me just say, Dumma Terraphon, thank you for the follow. Envoy70, thank you for the resubscription at 38 months, sorry, and you've been subscribed overall for 41 months. Incredible. Thank you very much. Cryptic Shah, thank you for the resubscription with Prime and that 10-month commitment to Soul Citizens. Our new subs goal of 10 was met when you did that, so we really appreciate it. Thrakazog, again, thank you for the 1-month subscription that went to JadeStarwatcher. We appreciate that. CC Creator, thank you for resubscribing with Prime and being subscribed for 39 months with Soul Citizens. That's incredible. Rakazak, thank you for your own resubscription with Prime and being subscribed for 42 months. And Hazardous Mike 71, thank you for the follow. We very much appreciate that. Jade, your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts as an org leader and somebody who has access to the recruitment page for my org, or one of my orgs, but the one I'm a leader in. I love this because there's so many times as an org leader where you have this big view of everything, right? But you don't really get to see what individual org members are doing as far as like the org. And it's to me, this will help not just with retention, but it will help with just overall morale in general, because there's people who may not necessarily be on, because we even though we're not a huge org, we're a little bit over 100. We are spread out across all time zones in the world, right? And there's people that won't be on at the same time to play with the group, but they will be doing things that benefit the org. And this will give us. I love data, right? I love data, and this will give me the data I need in order to help somebody out if they're struggling, if it looks like they're struggling, right? Or reward them if they've done a lot and they haven't been seen, right? I know one of the things in Blackstar we like to do is we like to promote people, right? To take on leadership, roles and things when they've demonstrated it. I mean, that's what happened with Bando, right? So, but what if Bando had gone out there, taken on Idris himself, took over that Idris, and none of us were around to see it? We would still want to be able to award Bando, the increased privileges and stuff that come with, the promotion, right? And so that's what I like about this.
I agree with Jade. That it's perfect for that. Just because of the time zone reasons itself. We're playing with people in the UK. I'm on the West Coast here, so the time difference is tremendous. So, everybody's going to bed when you're getting up. So it's I love that too.
Yeah, you West Coast people. Leaders. That's exactly right. With you West Coast people, we are going to bed.
Yeah,
and y'all are leaning in. It's crazy. I'm I'm exhausted.
Yeah, and so I'm on the same coast as Bando, and I totally agree. It's just when you have an org that's spread out and it's not a 10,000 person org or 5,000 person org. These kind of things are super important, and I think it's just going to help org growth as people don't feel like they're just left out there on their own.
Let's talk a little bit about org alignment, and what I heard was as alignment raises, new benefits can unlock and previous benefits increase. What kind of guilds and what kind of benefits do you want to see? Yes, switching resets alignment, we get that. But if I choose to be aligned with the Science Guild, for example, because I want to do exploration, well, first of all, I want exploration to have its own guild. I think I will take every opportunity to say that. But for right now, exploration is under the Science Guild, right? What kind of benefits do we think staying aligned with that guild ought to confer? What do you want to see in game? Dumma, Terraphon, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the biggest one for me is blueprints. And I think this is something they alluded to in their presentation as well. Is you can grind to get certain blueprints that you can only get from that faction or guild. So
right. So and on the science front, and we're still kind of in the realm of blueprints here, but we have a pretty good idea that endeavors are going to be able to do pharmaceutical research and stuff. So, imagine you get a bunch of rep with the Science Guild and you're able to build better med pens. You're able to build better med guns. You're able to create a better regen bed, things like that. If you're doing exploration, maybe you're able to blueprint out better exploration drones, things of that nature. I think those stuff like that would be incredible.
Yeah, maybe exploration unlocks a wormhole to a system that's the only way to unlock that wormhole and get that data.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Jade, what are your thoughts? And then we'll come to Captain Jones and Bando.
Yeah, I agree with the blueprints thing. You mentioned exploration specifically, and they've talked about things like long distance probes and better scanners and things like that. I would love for those kind of items to be unlocked if you earn a decent amount of rep with exploration. What is it? It's the ICC, right? The Imperial Cartography Center. So yeah, I would love for you to be able to get exclusive scanners and long distance probes and things that help an explorer explore. So yeah.
Yeah. Bando, Captain Jones, your thoughts?
I'm in agreement with. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Cap.
No, go take it away, Bando. Take it away.
Okay. I'm in agreement with that because Captain Jones and I have had quite a bit of long conversations about exploration and how there should be benefits to it, and we talked about how the Bengal being built, it just there needs to be some type of benefits to that, and I'm totally agreeing with that.
Yeah, we at Soul Citizens, we've talked about a new show that we're launching in a couple months called Lore. Dr. S'mores, thank you for the subscription. Very appreciative. We talked about a new show that we're launching called Lore Lighthouse, where we're exploring lore the Soul Citizens way. And for me, one of the benefits I want to see is an increased alignment with blueprint, mission, and lore, the further you are committed to the game in those ways, right? So there's a planet, or there's a system that, and Jade will remember the name of it, that humanity went to, and then the jump hole closed.
Oratani,
right? I knew. See, I just call on Jade, and I would love for something like that to be tied to alignment, right? So the more that you've done work and exploration, now all of a sudden a mission giver comes to you and goes, "Hey, we're setting out to do this exploration of this system," right? That you wouldn't have known about, right? Or been a part of if you hadn't, ranked up with the guild and now there's resources out there for you to try and find this lost system, right? A whole mission chain that you might want to connect to. So that type of thing for me just deepens the engagement and commitment with the game, right? Because I am already into the stories that lore tells us, right? And while still giving CIG all permission to change the lore as they need to change it, as we've seen done in Pyro, right, for example. But I'm really into the stories that lore get to tell us, and I'd love for us to earn our way into more of that, right? So that's the take. Anything else on org alignment and personal loyalty as part of these org tools and org discussions? Again, my guess is everybody said what they wanted to say. So, GoMap ATL Soul Team in the house and in the chat says, should you unlock better equipment or higher proficiency with the equipment? If it's equipment, should a pirate be able to steal the equipment and reap the benefits of that equipment that you earned? Or is it like Judge Dredd, right, where it's like the lawgiver is tied to your fingerprint and your DNA, and if they get the equipment, maybe the weapon can do some things, but it can't do all the things it could do because it's tied to you or something. What are your thoughts?
I don't think a pirate would be smart enough to figure out how to use it.
Yeah, but I like the latter. I think that this is the 30th century, and we're talking about weapons that. Sorry about this siren, if you can hear it. We basically, have weapons that will be able to be disabled because somebody, found your weapon, right? So why can't you have something that's an advanced scanner that's hard coded to only work with somebody whose DNA matches or whatever? I like that.
Yeah, so if you had that as the state and then you took it, what the prisoner says in the chat, maybe a pirate would need to hack it and have the skill to use it, right? So there's opportunities for gameplay on both sides of that situation, right? A regular person picks it up. They can't do what you could do with the weapon because of some gameplay thing you did, right, in the game. But they might be able to take it somewhere and skill up in or relationship up in some other area and hack it and get those activities, or maybe break the weapon down in its component parts and then use those parts somewhere else. Or there's lots of different ways in which Lens Nation
reverse engineering.
That's right. And I just trimmed it too. It took about 4 inches off. Yes, spring is sprung. They did mention actually when they were talking about blueprints that you'll be able to unlock blueprints the farther you go in for all kinds of professions, including science. So you can get a blueprint for your super collider to take some components and upgrade them, and that only are available down this certain line that you research or grind into. So.
And Terraphon, you've offended the pirate community in our chat.
We don't mind. We don't like pirates.
I see you and Togi going at it. It looks like it's pistols at dawn, I think.
To be fair, I just want to say this: pirates that actually act like pirates, love you guys. Awesome gameplay loop. The ones that just roll up and shoot you for no reason, not so much.
Yeah, they're galactic psychos. They're not pirates, right? Let's see if we can get back in here.
I feel bad for everybody who's been trying to watch us.
It looks like it's back.
Looks like we're back.
Looks like we're back. Yeah, I apologize. I don't know what that was. What we'll do is just blame Twitch. That's what we'll do.
Yeah. Jeff Bezos, it's all your fault.
Let's upgrade Twitch. Let's go.
I think Kogi and I got a little too feisty and broke it.
But let's
now I'll
jump back
never
in.
work for Blue Origin.
Let's jump back into CIG.
It's complex than the previous tabs, but it's equally important.
Previously, if I to join a well-established org and then just
Org storage.
to join a well-established org and then just get everything instantly for no effort. So to put it simply, having low loyalty limits what you gain from the org's alignment benefits, and having high loyalty gives you full access. We also wanted org leadership to be able to view members' current loyalty and use it as a tool to reward appropriately with things like ranks and permissions. And then loyalty resets to 0 when you leave an org, so there's some incentive for sticking around.
Wait, does that mean I lose my loyalty if I change my representation away?
No, so not representing puts your contributions or ongoing benefits on hold. So when you start representing again, you essentially just pick up where you left off.
But what if I leave the org?
It's not very loyal, so it resets.
Right. Well, so, in my org, my Buccaneers, they're mostly scoundrels, and so they tend to join and leave, and, it's not very loyal in general. Larger orgs, they tend to be a pain to manage, though. With the flow of joiners and leavers, do we have any tools to help managers like me?
Well, let's have a look at the Members tab. So this is less complex than the previous tabs, but it's equally important. This is where you see the community of your org and your place in it. So in here, you'll be able to manage members, you can leave notes, and see the ranks of members. And as we did with the friends list and the party list, we're adding rich presence in here as well. This is the rank panel. It gives you a clear indication where you sit within the community. And you'll see permissions on here, but that's something that we'll delve more into at a later date. For now, I'll just say that the leader might be able to determine permissions for each rank, and it could be things like inviting new members or accessing org storage.
Stop teasing us with org storage! God!
Come on.
So, all right. So, orgs form, and friendship and animosities build up. Maybe my Buccaneers and the Fellowship of JJ don't really see eye to eye most of the time. Would be great for this to translate in game, wouldn't it?
It would, wouldn't it? So yeah, it's a good job we got it covered, which is with our new alliances and rivalry system. So you're going to have the ability to create alliances and go to war. And there are many reasons to make friends. You might want to have trading partners, or you might want to group up for protection if you're playing somewhere like Pyro. And at the same time, there are probably going to be many reasons why you won't get along. Maybe an org keeps attacking or stealing from you. Alliance is forming an agreement between two org leaders, and it has to be mutual. You can't force someone to be friends.
Unlike real life.
Requests are sent from the screen if you have permission, and you could respond here as well. And as a bonus, allied orgs are going to have additional lines of communication, like Alliance chat, or being able to share Alliance events on the calendar, just to name a few.
So, rivalry, that isn't a mutual agreement. If someone decides you're their rival, well, tough luck. However, you could reach a mutual agreement to make a truce, putting you back at neutral. And there's no real benefit to having rivals, so we want to make them easy to identify. That's why alliances and rivalries tie directly into hostility indicators. So just like now, you'll be able to see neutral contacts in white and party members show up in blue, whereas your org wingman will come in a dark green and your allied orgs in a paler green. Your rivals will show up in red.
Or people in your kill list.
The kill list. People on your kill list that we mentioned before will also show up in red or orange. If you're not, well, they're not legal to attack. That's the go straight to jail card if you kill them here. So we'll be adding accessibility options for this stuff as well, to make sure that everybody can benefit from these updates.
So, that's everything for orgs today, but it's just the tip of the social iceberg. And we didn't have time to show you everything, but there's lots more to show in the future. And we're super excited because we finally get to deliver it.
Yeah.
Member management. Dumma, you alluded to this earlier, right? See the community of your org and your place in it. So, you know, whether you are a leader, middle management, a new person, a soldier in the organization, whatever, see your place in it. But for those who have those permissions, they can manage members, leave notes, see the ranks of other members. And even though permissions aren't finalized, and we'll come back to that as a throw out and a tease that CIG did, you can conduct a rank panel of your members. And then they talked about an alliance and rivalry system, allies and rivals and all the stuff there, as well as hostility or friend and foe indicators. And they did mention accessibility options. Thoughts on this? I'll start on the other end. Bando, your thoughts on all this?
I absolutely love the the level of friendship to enemy scale that they have. And one of my orgs that I'm in, we have a kill on sight. We know who are griefers, who have caused, havoc across both systems. So having an indicator, oh, we know who that is. Oh, okay. Let's call in the cavalry. Let's make sure we take this person out. So I absolutely love it. I think that's a pretty ingenious way to do that, because you know what, you might not know who it is, and you're looking at this log of, oh man, who I know that name. You don't remember. So having it flash up red or gold for, you might go to jail for it, but hey, it might be worth it.
Yeah. Captain Jones.
Yeah, absolutely love it. Being able to manage in-game who's friend or foe versus having to defer to my list on Discord. You're flying around, you see a name, you recognize the name. You don't know if you recognize it because Yeah, former ally or former enemy. So, by the time I go and scroll through and look through every name on the kill on sight list, they probably shot me down. So being able to see it right there actively as you're flying around, walking around, whatever you're doing, seeing it, color coded, so we can hopefully see the colors and react appropriately. Yes, I think it's really needed, especially right now where we can't tell who's who at all. Assuming party markers work, most of the time people are trying to figure out who's who and not having friendly fire. So once they get that working, if the shard/servers ever get to those population numbers that they've teased us to get to, being able to quickly ascertain who's going to be a blessing.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because we've actually had orgs on the same server at the same place at the same time, warring with each other and not realizing, oh, that's friend. So, that is definitely needed.
Yeah. Jade.
Yeah, so does anybody here remember when having a kill list and talking about it would get you banned from Spectrum?
Show do.
Okay, so this is an interesting turnabout from CIG. And, I know for a fact that I'm on several orgs kill lists. I know it. They've told me, right? So I know that I'm on some people's kill list. What I worry about with this is the potential for abuse, right? Because, when CIG presents this stuff, they present it in the context of the game, events within the game, org warfare. But we live in a world full of humans, like it or not. And humans have all sorts of reasons to not like each other. And I just worry about how this will be used. It will be used and abused by really toxic people. So I hope CIG, I hope that they're aware of it. Because quite often it seems like when they create things, they're not aware of what gamers will do with it, right? And then they're surprise Pikachu when it goes wrong. Don't be like that this time, CIG. Please, for the love of your community, don't. Just make sure that if you create this, there are people there are people that would violate the TOS, right? That will abuse this system, and you should crack down hard on them. And when I say crack down hard, I mean they can't play the game. That's what I mean. Not I'm gonna slap you on the wrist. That's all.
Yeah. Thank you, Jade. Terraphon.
Yeah, so I want to start off by saying that Balt is cheating his ass off because he had 4,526,500,000 credits in his Mobiglass. And then
yeah, how else do you get that, right?
Right. Talking about specifically what they were just talking about, the allies and enemies list. I definitely think it's a good idea. I'm gonna absolutely co-sign what Captain Jones said. When I'm flying around and I see a name and I think, that name looks familiar, if I have to manually scroll through my own, this is someone I need to take care of business with list, I'm probably dead before I figure out who they are. Mm-hmm. And that's problematic. So being able to have people's names show up in red, orange, whatever, to just remind you, I've got a problem with that person, or my org has a problem with that person, it's going to be great. I'm going to skip the talk about org storage that they keep teasing us with. I've got some opinions about that. But
we'll come back to it.
Yeah. That's where my mind's at, though. Like I said, I'm completely 100% co-signing Captain Jones' statement here.
Yeah. And Dumma.
Kind of the weeds that we went into here, worrying about privacy and griefing and are this route of personal kill list or shareable kill list. What they presented was just guild level warring or kill lists, right? If they keep it to that, then I think that's less exploitable. Although it would be nice to have a personal kill list that maybe is not shareable, that you could flag for yourself, and maybe even orgs. But that's again getting into that dangerous territory of where the griefing community as a whole puts one person on that list, and now they're read to everybody, and they can't play in peace ever. So
he said ever. Put a stamp on that. No peace for you. I mean, listen, I can imagine, I am in an org called Pretty Cool Org. Captain Jones is in that org. We're really, really casual. We're that social org that you talked about. We have announced Soul Station, which, as a reminder, Soul Citizens is not an org. Soul Citizens is a community, and Soul Station we plan on being a club, right? Another social gathering space. Although if you take a look at our org page, you'll see some of our ambition, right? Tell them Captain Jones, we're gonna build out and have some fun. But I can imagine.
I call Soul Station for no reason.
That's right. It's not called Soul Station for no reason. But I can imagine even in that social context, you might shoot the wrong person one time, right? You might make a mistake. You might end up on one of these CIG events engaged with somebody who decides that you're now their problem, number one, right? Even though that's not how you want to move in the universe. It may end up that way, right? And, I think it's important that if somebody had an experience with you in game and they want to address it with in-game tools and respond, that there's something for them to do that with, while CIG does have the telemetry-driven ability to make sure that doesn't get abused, right? Because nobody's here spending the money that they're spending on Star Citizen to have somebody just, camp and grief them for days on end where they can't function because they decided that they didn't like you or something crazy like that, right? Although, orgs help you resolve some of that too, right? And speak to some of that too.
Hey, SeriousFun?
Yeah.
Real quick. So you're a soccer fan, right?
I am.
And you're familiar with the persistent infringement rule?
I am.
All right. So if an org is targeting the same person, but it's a different person in that org doing it, then CIG should be able to have that data.
Right.
Right? Because that is literally the definition of griefing. There's one definition of griefing CIG has said, and that is if you're targeting the same person over and over again as a person, that's griefing. But they need to expand that if they do this, that if the org is targeting that same person over and over again, that's persistent infringement griefing.
Yep.
You agree?
I do. I think that CIG, when I say telemetry, you say data, we're talking the same thing, right?
Yeah.
I think that, and somebody said it in the chat, right? You've got some of this violation of the TOS kill list activity that was happening outside the game. They bring some of these tools inside the game that allows them to see how this stuff is being done and used, right? And it creates line of sight, but they have to act on that line of sight, in my view, right? It is no good for them to bring in tools that give them data, telemetry, and other information that they don't act on, right? I also want to see players get the chance to give other knucklehead players their comeuppance. Right?
Yeah.
I do want to see that, right? We had some knuckleheads in a previous life. I was 4,000 hours in Elite Dangerous. We had some knucklehead players who we were able to organize and go, share some information with, some thoughts and ideas with, right? And that was energizing too, right? But I understand what you're talking about in terms of, isolation, abuse of these things, right? Targeting. We have to have CIG paying attention to those things, and my hope is that shows like this and raising awareness will help do that. Other thoughts on alliance and rivalry systems. We talked a lot about rivalry and kill lists and the colors, but we didn't talk as much about alliances and mutual agreement between orgs and what you might be able to do with that, or the additional lines of communication that you would want. Any thoughts on alliances and ally systems and things you want to see there?
Yeah, somebody mentioned earlier, and I think this was a really good idea, is that if you make an alliance with an org, there should be some gravitas to that. There should be some resource sharing or some kind of back channel that you have in game. Some reason besides just having their name turn a different color. So
it sounds like you want a cutscene with animations of the leaders coming together across a table, a boardroom, and the Carrick shaking hands and music. I think that's what we want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there should be some weight to that. I agree with you. No matter what the size of the org is, if two orgs decide to come together, that should mean something in game and should show up on some of these summary lists, and players should be able to see that in and out of game that happened. Yeah. Other thoughts on alliances?
I agree with that, because as me being in multiple orgs, if I'm changing my allegiance here and there, I should be able to know who's on the other side, and that's aligned with us. So again, Shadow Company and Galaxy Track might do an operation where we might just be on one server doing something else, and we might see them and like, hey, let's collaborate on this thing. So I love the alliance part of it. It works well, especially for people who are in multi organizations.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Okay. No. You go ahead.
I was going to say I'm 100% on board with what Mistral is saying here. Mistral 19K said in the eventuality of org-controlled space territory, it would allow friendly passage, and he also mentioned giving discounts amongst traders in the org. So, allies show up in your space where they get free passage. Maybe they're able to slip past your orbital defenses to get to a shop where you're selling all kinds of cool stuff, and then they get a discount. Sharing of resources, sharing of data, things like that would be awesome. But I do want to just say this one little thing. Today's ally can be tomorrow's enemy.
Right. So how clean a separation can you have of those things when it does turn the other way, right? If you're sharing blueprints, for example, how clean can CIG make the systems when they betray you, and you have to unplug that? And is there a cooldown period, right? Yeah, those are good questions.
Yeah, my question is, how deep will the visibility be for those alliances? Like, your org allies with an org. Now, do you get to see all the other orgs they're allied with, and then do you get to see the next level of those orgs that are allied with that org? Like, will you then become part of a network of orgs that are aligned, and if so, will you be able to see that?
Or will you be able to opt out?
Right.
Yeah. Like, what if, somewhere 5 levels deep, there's an org that there's no way I would want to be aligned with, but because my org has now aligned themselves with an org that several levels away, but still there's that alliance. Yeah, like, I wonder how deep will these alliances go, and how deep will the visibility of them go in the app?
Well, because they all say redacted on them.
Right.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, let's assume we get rid of that, but I can tell you that my preference would be that you align with an org as you align with an org, right? And that regardless of the other alignments that they have, they could tell me about those. Maybe I could even see those, but I'd have to go and make that alliance myself, org to org, I don't think that I should that benefit should just confer. I think you should have to align in each instance, but that's just how I see it. Other thoughts on that? Yeah, I made the statement of the day. That's it. That's a wrap. Two other things that have popped up. One is in the chat, and one is what CIG said. Admiral Kusanagi says orgs are not going to be able to control space. Interesting thought. But the next thing is what I want to wrestle with. Why are people forgetting about NPC orgs? Does Pyro not have NPC org run stations? Yes, Rough and Ready runs almost all the stations in Pyro. But does this group think that CIG is thinking about a similar passive infrastructure for NPC orgs that we have for our own orgs? Or do you think they're thinking about those orgs differently?
I think they're thinking about them completely differently. Having watched the last CitizenCon, a lot of what was presented previously, which is what Admiral Kusanagi is talking about, I feel as though that stuff is either on the back burner or, maybe not even planned anymore. Like the whole, 9-to-1, right, ratio where there's, for every one of us, there's 9 NPCs. They're doing all these things in the background. The whole Tony Z, who's not there anymore, presentation of Quanta, right? We don't hear anything about that anymore. It's been renamed something else, and I don't know that is still the vision of this game, Admiral. To answer your question.
Well, and let me just add my own clarification, and Jade, you can re-clarify me if my clarification is not as clear as the clarification you might add. But my understanding is that Tony Z is still with Cloud Imperium Games. He's just listed on the website as game developer emeritus.
Yeah.
But there's lots of other people who have left the organization who are not listed with Cloud Imperium anymore at all. So the fact that he's still listed there, I think, for me, I would want to acknowledge that he is still there.
Yeah, he is still there. And I hope that his ideas are still there.
Yeah, me too. The other thing I wanted to... did anybody want to talk about NPC orgs real quick?
Yeah, well, not NPC orgs, but I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with Admiral on... I think there are orgs that are pretty large and pretty well organized and do have aspirations of controlling a planet, maybe not a system, but where their home base is located, and they have a space station. They're going to be able to control the space around it, especially if they've got upwards of 8,000 to 10,000 members. So
yeah, so it's not an official control, but it's it's a level of force is what it boils down to.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
And I don't think the NPCs, going back to the orgs, are going to be at the level of depth that we're talking about when we talk about orgs. I think when it comes to those NPCs, beyond them being tied to a faction, Fire Right is a faction, Nine Tails is a faction, and sure, they go out and do things as an org, but they're more tied to those guilds, and as we're playing through and earning faction with the guilds, I think that's really the only depth we're going to have. We have faction with Nine Tails, maybe gives us access to certain things, but though I think Nine Tails will ever be an org where it's controlling areas of space. I can go to Terminus and still do what I want to do, whether they're there or not. I think when we get past action, that's about the level of depth you're going to see when it's concerning orgs and NPCs.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Well, depending on where you have your real estate plot, right? There are systems where you do have security forces, which is kind of like an NPC org that kind of fights on your side. So, right?
Yeah, but yeah. I think kind of what Captain Jones is getting at is that's more of a headless operation, right? Mm-hmm. You don't have the ability to ally with them or share resources, share information, because they are NPCs, so it's basically headless.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to dive into really quickly was accessibility options, right? So the CIG developer said, red for this, orange for this, neutral white, party members blue, dark green. It doesn't surprise me that CIG would probably position us to, for folks that are colorblind or otherwise color differentiated, change those colors for them. What other org-based accessibility options would you want to see that they didn't mention?
Man, that's a good question.
I'm glad I asked a good question.
That's a brain teaser. I think, yeah, man, I don't know.
I have one.
Yes.
Go.
VoIP working consistently.
Okay, yeah, you ain't any kind of wrong.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Really quickly, the throwouts or teases that we got with nothing to back up when they were coming or whether, I mean, we don't know when any of this is coming, but at least we see an app, we see tabs, we see a framework, an approach for this. But other stuff that was thrown out. One thing was org storage. How many folks are really looking forward to org storage? And what do you use it for? What would you use it for? What do you want it to look like, and what would you use it for? How do you use it?
Oh my gosh,
Man.
Look, requisitioning, right?
What aren't you going to use it for? Yeah.
For example, the org, the Dumma and I are in Atlas Defense Industries. And a lot of orgs out there have specific org, I'm going to throw air quotes around this, uniforms that they wear when they're doing coordinated ops, right? So a lot of that's so that you don't end up shooting your buddies. But a lot of times you'll get players who all their uniform stuff is in another system or on another planet or somewhere else where they can't quickly get to it. And it would be nice to just be able to have people roll up and grab armor and weapons and stuff from an org storage, right? You just requisition the stuff out to them and say, if you live through this op, bring it back when you're done, and we'll stick it back in there. If we ever
tier
get into,
0, even if you don't live, they can bring it
back. Yeah, if you can tier 0 it back into your org storage, great. And then of course, org money, right? So that, let's say for example, your org has decided that they're going to buy a javelin in game, and they say, hey everybody, if you've got the funds, everybody donate 10,000 credits to the org storage and we'll be able to go buy this big ship. Or, here's another big one. We were talking about this literally last night. Your capital ship, your main flagship has been destroyed. You need to get it repaired, but there's not enough copper in the current ecosystem to rebuild that ship. Okay, everybody go out, get copper, bring it back, we put it in the org storage, and as soon as we have enough, we put it out on the market so our ship can be repaired.
Very good. Other thoughts?
Yeah, knowing that CIG likes to do everything physicalized and realistic, right? You're going to have multiple storage caches in different places. So again, what is their organization and permissioning tools going to look like that are attached to your org? Who has access to this cache versus this cache, and really like to see some of those thoughts on how they're going to handle that.
Other thoughts on org storage?
I'm in agreement. Go ahead, Jade.
No, you go ahead.
I'm in agreement with that because when I came into the org with Jade, everybody had a uniform except for me. So I was the oddball out. And we were doing this operation with the Idris, it was a couple times they'd ask, who was that? So having an org, warehouse where we can go and get the uniform or get what we need or have those resources sitting there when you log out would be actually really great.
I just want to clarify, Bando, you came in when we were doing the Capture the Idris video, so that we don't actually have an org uniform. We're very against that kind of thing, but
Right.
we did it just for that video. So I just wanted to clarify that, so Oni's
You're right.
not like, what?
No, that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So one of the things I would like, as far as this whole thing goes, is I divide it up into three things: org storage for commodities and resources, org banks for money, and org hangars for ships and vehicles, right? So as far as org storage for commodities and things like that, I feel that will help, especially, industrial focused orgs a lot. Somebody may want to do refining. That may be the only thing. They have their refining ship. That may be the only thing they want to do, right? And so the miners can bring their stuff to that org storage, and they always have a cache of stuff to go and refine, right? That would be a use case for that. As far as org banks, I mean, a good example of that is, like, GoMap knows, when we were doing Jumptown, I sat there with a spreadsheet so I could pay out everybody when I delivered the drugs, right? And it would be much easier if we had an org bank where we could keep track of everything right there. And as far as org hangars, I mean, everybody knows it. We all have more ships than we can fly, right? And there's going to be people who come into this game post 1.0 that only have a starter package, right? And I would love for CIG to make an account that doesn't even have a ship, so that those people could join an org like Black Star or ADI or whoever, and they'd have access to those other ships, based on what they've done for the org. That's another incentive for them to earn standing in the org, is that they don't have to go into their pocket and buy a Polaris, right? The org has 2 or 3 or however many Polarises that they, would be able to access. Polari. Yeah, Polari. Exactly. That they would be able to access. I'm just using that as an example, but those would be like the most blatant use cases that come to mind, and I hope CIG implements all 3 of those: org banks, org hangars, and shared, org storage.
Okay. And I agree with the Hurt Locker. Spread that goblin loot.
Yes.
It needs to be spreaded.
Last thing, and then we'll get to our Q&A. The CIG presentation ended with a cutscene that showed themes and banners and logos of the different orgs that they made up on clothing, on armor, and on ships. What do you all think of that? Do you want to be able to do that? Should there be a standard location on the Drake Cutty Black where that your image goes? Should you be able to do it anywhere you want? Do we disagree with that? What are our thoughts on org banners, logos, and themes on clothing, armor, and ships?
My thought is, I hope they vet those really well, because if they don't, I guarantee you within the first 6 days, some org will have a big picture of a butthole slapped right on the side of their ship.
Yeah.
Or something phallic.
Yeah, there has to be some kind of vetting system.
Yeah.
As an artist designer, I love this though. Being able to brand art, yeah, this would be amazing. So sorry, Jade, go ahead.
Yeah, no. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I agree, and I feel this would be a very good use case for AI to flag things. So that, CIG's not hiring a whole staff of people to look at every single image that's submitted, right? There are AI algorithms that can recognize all sorts of bad stuff, let's say, that people might, want to do. And there are other games that have done this successfully. I come from the Second Life community, right? And that place is, you can create whatever you want, right? And you can put that logo wherever you want or whatever, right? So yeah, this is not something new and novel and unique to CIG. FIFA at one time, the soccer game had where you could create a club and create a logo or crest for that club, and they had a system back then. I think it was like 2013, where people were doing that, and as long as it's something that can be done tastefully. I want there to be places on the ship that it would naturally be. Like, I don't want them to just, I don't want people just to slap at them anywhere. But they should have a lot of freedom into where they would put their org logos. And I would love also org color schemes to be something that somebody, could earn within the org. They could earn that so that now, they can represent the org because they've gotten a certain standing in the org, and that unlocks that skin or that paint.
Yeah. Thinking a little bit more about the logistics of how they might go about that is, I think, having your org admin page on the CIG website, where you put a logo for your org page, they could just expand that, have a spot where you could put 1 or 2 logos that would be applied to ships and armor, and that's it. And that would be easy, like you said, to check with AI and make sure there's nothing dirty in there, and then in game you could easily apply that to your ship.
Yeah.
So
very good.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to pronounce this name because I'm going to injure myself, but Grex yikes, said in chat, that's an idea though. Would you pay real money to get your guild symbol approved? That's a good question, and I'll be honest with you. If it's a one-time small fee, few bucks or so, I think probably most orgs would pay to get it vetted and approved.
I'd pay to ensure that there is a system of approval.
I would pay, and I would make it. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'd make it about the same price as a cutlass, and the reason being, I know that sounds bad, right? But the reason being is this is for orgs, not individuals. There's a $5. I think it's $5 still. Changing your, what is it, the moniker, community moniker?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And the reason they did that instead of, making it free was they don't want people to be constantly changing that, right? And like as an org, I would say this, if you've got an org, you've got a bunch of people, they can chip in order to, get their logo. And it shouldn't be something that's changing constantly, right? So you want it to mean something. And that also makes people think about, do I really want to submit this offensive logo and lose my $100? Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's fair, $100. For a couple of reasons. One, as SeriousFun said, it helps pay for the people to do it. But then, yeah, Jade, I'll absolutely co-sign what you said. Orgs aren't going to want to mess around and be submitting nasty pictures if they're having to pay $100 to get it approved.
Yeah, and I think New World did this as well. There was a timeout where you once you submitted it, there was a certain amount of time you had to wait before you could redo it.
Yeah, I'd want the ability to redo it though, right? Because you might have a logo that evolves after 5 years or 10 years, or you want to have a 5-year version of the logo or a 10-year version of the logo. But I don't want an environment where I thought I knew the logo of this particular organization and it changes every day, right? That's unless they want to pay every day, but I still would want a cool down period, to your point, Dumma. Yeah. Okay, that is our show. I want to get to our Q&A, and then we'll talk a little bit about a couple of other things. But I want to thank Dumma and Terraphon from ADI for being here. I want to thank Captain Jones and Bando Calrissian for being here. I want to thank JadeStarwatcher, Soul Team Member Extraordinaire, for being here. Jade has supported historically so many shows, so just thank you, Jade, for doing that and for hosting while I tried to figure out how to talk.
Anytime.
I appreciate that. But our viewer question for today comes from Sir Togi. And no, Terraphon, it is not how you all can have pistols at dawn, but it is a substantive question for those of you that are in orgs and lead orgs in particular. What do you do to keep your orgs alive when so many orgs have died or gone non-active? You know, this game has taken a long time to develop. And in that time, orgs have come, flourished, and gone. Mm-hmm. What do you do to keep your orgs alive when so many have died or gone non-active?
So again, it's a really good question, and thanks for bringing that up, Togi. Of course, I can only speak for ADI, but you know, one of the things that we do is we have regular org ops. We have you know, a bunch of different voice channels that are dedicated to gameplay, so people can jump in with their friends and play and chat, and you know. But I think one of the biggest things there is organized org ops, where we say, hey guys, we're going to go do this, whatever it happens to be, really cool thing, and you know, we'll get huge response on those, and so yeah, just finding ways to keep the org engaged and giving the org members opportunities to be engaged is, I think, the
really
key
quick
thing.
Meathead Militia, thank you for the raid with a party of 45. We are super thankful for that. We really appreciate that. I am SeriousFun. This is Soul Citizens. You have joined us towards the end of our show. But we really appreciate you raiders coming in and checking us out. Terraphon. Tonight we're talking about orgs and what CIG has said about orgs and what different members here of different orgs think in response to that and other thoughts they may have.
I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, so I was just capping off by saying that I think the biggest thing is the org taking responsibility for finding activities that are going to give the membership lots of opportunities to be engaged, right? If you don't offer your membership things to do, they're gonna go away. So that's the biggest thing, I think.
Yeah, and to expand on, you know, ADI and what Terraphon says too, like, you know, creating a community of people that are kind of like-minded and just, you know, are you don't want to play and have fun, but I think ADI's rules kind of cover that. And, you know, one being, you know, just 3 basic rules is, you know, no jerks, real life first, which is really important. And what's the third rule, Terraphon?
Don't make drama, which really
don't make drama.
Don't be a jerk.
Yeah, it's the extension of that,
yeah.
Right?
That's the worst rule you could forget, Dumma.
I know. And they I was thinking about the first rule. Those can really kill an org. So to preserve that community, right, you want to have some rules that, you know, keep people engaged and then keep it from being destroyed by toxic people. So
yeah. And Mistral 19K brings up another one. Do tutorials, right? Have org members teach newer ones a trade skill. We do that constantly in ADI. We have flight training. We have training for first-person combat. We've got medical training, cargo running training. If you want to learn anything, we'll teach you how to do it.
Very cool. Other orgs and other thoughts on this. How do you keep your org alive when so many have died or gone non-active?
Well, I can talk to this, having, you know, I'm in a very active org in the case of Black Star, and I was in a very active org in the case of the Exiles, which won the very first Daymar rally. What I would say is, you know, where we are now in development is in a much better place than we were years ago. However, there are still ebbs and flows in terms of game stability and, you know, the interest in it. And I know one of the things that in Black Star is that people are allowed to play other games. We can play other games as well as Star Citizen when Star Citizen is being Star Citizen, right? When we're getting 30Ks or server errors constantly or whatever, like making sure that you build that community within your org over multiple you know, low periods, right? Um, as well as everything else that was mentioned here, training, letting somebody know, you know, that they're a valued member of the org once they, you know, immediately when they join, have them, you know, figure out what their level is as far as like, are they new to the game? If they've been around a while, what are they interested in? And then try to find somebody that you can, like, you know, maybe pair them with in order to foster that interest. And the whole idea of orgs, they're not supposed to be second jobs. They're supposed to be fun, right? Because we're playing a game. We're all here to play a game. We're all here to have fun. So I think the main thing that I've seen with a lot of orgs that have fallen off was being so stuck on I have to play Star. We have to always play Star Citizen regardless of the condition of the game, and it becomes a job. Like, yeah, now I have a second job that I didn't want with these people. I have all these checklists and things I have to go through. No. In the case of Black Star, we will never be that way. We're not a mil sim org either. So I've noticed two types of orgs that have a hard time lasting a long time: pirate orgs and mil sim orgs. And I feel it's because of that whole fun aspect gets lost if it's too hardcore.
I agree with Jade. I actually quit an org because of it became a second job, and I didn't play Star Citizen for a year. I mean, that's how burnt out I was playing in that. So that's why I'm in the orgs I'm in right now, because of that.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Well, thank you all very much for being here tonight. Soul Citizens is a sponsor of a brand new experience that's happening this year, July 12th of this year in Las Vegas, called Quantum Vegas 2955. And it's a unique opportunity for the gaming community to come together. And we wanted to show you a bit about Quantum Vegas. It'll take a minute, and then we'll wrap up.
Quantum Vegas 2955 is a community celebration of the Star Citizen universe, uniquely designed to immerse attendees in the creative and technical brilliance of the game. Hosted in the unparalleled conference environment of Area 15 in Las Vegas, Nevada, this inaugural event offers direct access to developers from Cloud Imperium Games, influential community leaders, as well as other Star Citizen backers. This event offers interactive sessions with special guests covering the complexity of game development to community-driven experiences in a unique and intimate setting. Quantum Vegas 2955 is more than a convention. It's an immersive gateway into the Star Citizen legacy, an unmissable highlight on the gaming calendar. Seating is limited for this special event, and early bird tickets will be sold out soon. For tickets and information, visit quantumvegas.space and follow our social media on X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Quantum Vegas 2955, by the community, for the community.
Vegas.space 2955, quantumvegas.space. Be sure to check that out. We wanted to make sure that we shared that with you all. If you make your way over to quantumvegas.space, you'll see all the different entities that have committed to the experience. And we think that making our way to Area 15 and connecting people with that experience as well will be a really, really fun opportunity. So be sure to check that out.
Yeah, it looks like a blast.
Yeah, I hope to see you there. You know,
I got my tickets.
Yeah. I want to thank everybody again for being here. I want to make sure that we do our Twitch due diligence and raid somebody tonight. Bite Size Hobbit says, I guess I need to check my schedule. Well, you know, Bite Size Hobbit and I stood in line together at CitizenCon in Manchester, and Bite Size Hobbit is bite size, and I'm 6'7", so that was That was lots of fun. She was able to call upon me to see over the crowd. And
Jeez, and right. How's the weather up there, you tall bastard?
I'm just tall enough to not be able to shop at the mall. That's all this height means. That's really all it means. But yeah, it was a blessing to be there with Bite Size Hobbit and others, and hopefully we can see you all there at Quantum as well. Let's see who we're going to raid. I think that I want to raid. Let's see. I want to raid Rockstar. We're going to raid Rockstar. And so we want to thank you all very much for being here. Be sure to tell Rockstar, who is doing what they call a Hather hangover in Star Citizen, hello. Tell them that it's a soul raid, and we look forward to seeing you all very soon.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. And we're getting ready to go. Have a good night.
Peace, love, and soul.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to say that. Peace, love, and soul. Bye.
I got you, see?
Bye.
All right, looks like we're clear.
Yeah, and cut.
Yeah.
Are we clear?
Thank you so much for having us on. Yeah.
Yeah, I know we went a little late. Thanks for accommodating that. I appreciate it.